I'm Eileen O'Hara. I'm a Reiki Practitioner, a light and energy worker, and a citizen of Earth. I'm also
the Queen of Rock and Roll, Melody Trouble Vixen, MTV!
a notorious bad guy from My life is anything but dull. I've had a lot of adventures, and like everyone else, I'm struggling to get through these strange times. So I'm challenging you to become your own best friend. Like any relationship, it takes work. So let's step into the ring and have some fun. This is Wrestling with Your Best Friend. Welcome to Wrestling with Your Best Friend. I'm your host, Eileen O'Hara. So, what is a best friend? To me, it's about unconditional kindness and support, loving someone and expecting nothing more than their friendship in return. Best friends listen. They hear you, they get you, and no matter what, a best friend is on your side. It's unlike any other relationship. So now we're in the middle of a pandemic. Not only do we have to try and figure out how to reinvent our lives, we're trying to stay alive, pay our bills, put food on the table. So many people are grieving the loss of their jobs, their homes, their loved ones. We may have experienced some of this before, but never on this scale. This is new. Becoming our own best friend is a skill that can help us get through these hard times. So, how does one become their own best friend? For me, it all starts with self-esteem. Self-esteem gives me the courage to stand up for myself, to set healthy boundaries and change destructive behaviors. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about being self-centered or narcissistic or harming anyone in any way. What I'm talking about comes from truth, being honest with yourself about yourself. You know, I can make real progress when I look within myself and I open what I call packages. These packages are a mix of trauma, guilt, negative self-talk, anger, rage, injustice, or anything else that I've closed the lid on and tucked away inside my trauma closet. Honestly, looking at these packages helps me understand why something is causing me pain. Understanding helps me let go of the pain and get just that little bit closer to healing. It's a journey, not a destination, and it's something that I wrestle with every day. My guest is someone I've known half my life. I met Trisha King when we were training to become GLOW Wrestlers. I was impressed by her kind nature, her creativity, and her good humor. We became friends. We were both cast as bad guys on the show, and we were paired as the tag team MTV and Jailbait. Today, she sets an example for us all with her courageous journey to find her truth and personal healing. I am thrilled to present my first guest, and I'm going to have to use glasses here. She's someone I admire. She's had the courage to seek her truth, and not only seek her truth, acknowledge her pain and confront her abusers. And so she's not only confronted her abusers, but dealt with the consequences of that. So welcome, Trish King. Thank you so much for being on the first episode of Wrestling with Your Best Friend.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're the perfect guest for this episode because you're not only one of my dearest best friends. We've been friends for over 30 years. You were my very first tag team partner, the very first person I stepped into the ring with and wrestled with my best friend.
Well, those are good times.
Well, I'm very, very proud of you for having the courage to open those packages and, you know, take them apart and dissect them and try to understand what it is that is causing us to not move forward and causing us to relive abusive relationships because that's all we know. Well, you stopped that cycle and you changed that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh gosh. Well, it's been a slow process. I had a very traumatic childhood. I have a mother she has issues, and my father basically abandoned us as kids. And so I had this mother who I don't want to talk bad about my mom because I love her. My mom went through a lot of traumatic abuse as a child. She was sexually abused by her own father.
It's a cycle, and we have to break the cycle at some point. And we're not blaming
Yes.
anyone. All we're talking about is what we lived through. You know, if they knew better, they would have done better.
I look at my mom and I can't be angry with her because she went through even more than what we went through. We went through some pretty bad stuff. My mom left home when she was 12 because she was sexually abused by her own father. And so basically, my mom, in some ways, she's my hero because she raised 5 kids on her own. But she really didn't do such a great job. Let me just say, again, I don't hate my mom. She went through so much. Anyway, so she put herself through nursing school, had 5 kids. I was second out of 5. I was the oldest daughter, so I was kind of like a mom. I would be the one to dress myself, to figure out my own ways to school. Nobody parented us. Nobody really tucked us in at night. We were self-sufficient from the time I can remember. Nobody did anything for us. It was a learning journey because I had to learn real quick to get my own food, how to dress myself. And then when you're a little girl and you don't know how to coordinate colors and patterns, of course you get teased. Teachers didn't like me because I never did homework. I didn't have anybody to parent me to tell me to do homework. And if I got stuck, nobody was there to answer questions. And my mom worked a lot. She was a nurse. She put herself through nursing school, so she wasn't around. So we were latchkey kids. It was very lonely. I mean, like I had a little brother that would tear off his diaper, go to the bathroom all over the place, and I was the designated poop picker-upper.
That's a lot for a little girl to deal with.
It was. My older brother and I, one time we witnessed a man try to kill my mom. It was somebody she dated.
That's rough stuff to go through. Confronting and opening these packages are they're devastating. You went through all these packages and...
My whole life was like that. My father, he would come and be the weekend fun guy that would pick us up and kind of rescue us for the weekend. We would have time to have fun. And he got married to this woman who was a complete narcissist. I had a mother who was like traumatized as a child. In some ways, she was brilliant. I mean, she was a nurse, right? But in other ways, she was very damaged and stuck at age whatever, maybe 6 or something. She had a very childlike side.
Trauma is debilitating. I mean, I have clinical depression, okay? And I usually don't indulge it and don't succumb to it, but sometimes it's everything I can do to get up and get going. If someone has trauma and they have debilitating conditions that they're not even aware of, how can they do better?
With my mom, I think it's even maybe a little bit more than just a depression or anxiety diagnosis. I really think she's multiple. I've seen her switch. Something will trigger her and her complete face will change and she becomes a different person. And then she'll have amnesia. That's from severe trauma. I don't hate my mom. I love her so much. I'm just explaining my experience.
The consequence is you experienced deep trauma yourself.
So I've been put through a lot. So then I had my dad, who was a fun guy, and he would kind of rescue us in the weekends. And this was in Michigan. And it was kind of like that. My dad and stepmom would take us out and we'd go have fast food. And then they'd fill us with sugar and send us home. But my stepmother was always pumping me for information about my mother. And because I was a little girl, I just was stupid. I just answered the questions. I didn't know to lie or cover. I was just an honest little girl. And so she'd ask me questions about my mom and her dating life. And I noticed my stepmother was talking horrible about my mother in front of us, calling her all these horrible names. And so I kind of judged my mother. kind of based on my stepmother's opinions, if that makes sense.
You were a child, and children don't have the higher brain functions, which is the thought process and the reasoning process. That's why parents take care of children, and the voting age is 18 and the drinking age is 21, because that's when the higher brain functions start to develop. And putting a child in that situation is not fair, because you don't understand the consequences, because your brain is not developed there yet.
That's true. The guy that tried to kill my mom that night, my brother and I, basically he was choking her. And my brother came to me. I was watching cartoons, and my brother came to me and he said, he's choking her. And I was like, I don't know what. And so he goes, come here. And we went to the door, and we were listening at the door, and we could hear my mom gasping and crying and begging for her life. And after a few minutes, the door flung open, and here he was. He stormed out. He was mad, And my mom was purple-faced and gasping for air, and he tried to kill her. All I know is that we just picked up and moved out of state. And she didn't tell my dad, whatever. That caused a lot of drama between those two. My mom ended up, after a couple years later, she ended up hooking up with this hippie commune, which sounds great, right? Because we had 75 acres, we had a skating rink, ponies. So it was kind of fun, because it was like a hippie commune, and so, but it was in the deep South in the Bible Belt. This was in the 70s. Anyways, my mom and dad still were arguing or whatever. My dad ended up fleeing Michigan to evade child support. He moved to California. We didn't know. He just disappeared for 4 years of my life. I was a little girl. Bad things that happened at that commune.
You don't have to tell the experience, but just tell the result.
Well, my dad was nowhere to rescue us.
It still hurts.
Yep.
The people who the child needed were not there for the child at the most desperate time when you needed this support, this parental support. It was not there.
And to make it a little more complex, the man that ran the commune was a psychiatrist.
Oh my goodness.
My view of psychiatrists, because this is a man I watched beat a puppy to death with a baseball bat.
Holy schmazzoles. No child should ever have to see that. Wow. That's crazy. Okay, that's just awful.
Now, here's the thing, though. But he presented himself like Mr. Hippie Commune, Mr. Love, Freedom, blah, blah, blah. Do you see? He put on this front of, I'm a good guy. It was more than just the puppy with the baseball bat. There was a lot of hanky-panky, and wife swapping. And I remember his daughter was my really good friend at the time, because she was a year older than me. And she told me her dad was a member of NAMBLA, la, la, la. And I was like, what's that? And she told me it was just men hugging boys. So,
yikes.
I'm sorry if I'm going too deep.
No. This is important, because this is the trauma you experienced. It's real. It's deep.
There were a lot of adults there because it was a commune. So we had, they took in everybody, and anybody who didn't have a place to go, they came and lived with us. We were one of them. So here we were, my mom with her kids, him with his kids. We're talking a lot of kids at this commune.
I'll bet.
And a lot of truckers and hitchhikers and you name it. Even people high in power came to the commune because he was this great guru with a psychology degree that everybody loved and adored. And meanwhile, I'm watching this man behind the scenes. He presented himself as Mr. Peace and Love. But when everybody went home and we were there, I saw a different side of this man. This is the man that beat a puppy in front of us because the puppy kept getting into the trash and he was mad. This is a man that would snap his fingers and his children would run to him. Yes, Daddy, make me a sandwich.
Wow.
He'd eat the sandwich, burp, and say, make me another one. Okay, this is Mr. Love Hippie guy. This is a man that would tickle my hand when we're holding hands to pray. I didn't know there was any kind of innuendo there. I was a kid. Somebody told me later on.
No, you wouldn't know this. You were a child and it was wrong.
I was a kid. This man also had a child with one of his foster children. It was a bad environment. And I even got molested a couple times while I was there. But I don't want to go into that.
But this is the trauma you went through, and you needed a solid family parenting that was not there. Yeah, let's fast forward a few years. What made you want to look at all this and decided to find your truth and then speak your truth?
Because my parents abandoned me. It set me up for every single relationship, romantically, almost all of them, were abusive in some way or form. If not physically, emotionally, or mentally. And you've met a couple of them, so you know.
And this is why I'm so proud of you for being here at this place right now. And do you know how much courage it took for you to do this?
Well, it wasn't just my romantic relationship. It was also friends. So my whole point of all this is when you're a child who's experienced trauma and abuse, in a sense, you're tagged on a spiritual level. You become submissive or overly nice because you're trying to compensate because you're so desperate to be loved, that you're kind of tagged to where a narcissistic personality, whether it be a male or female, they can spot you out of a group of 30 people that can zero in, you're the one, and you become their bully target. So you're kind of become a lifelong bully magnet if you're not aware. I'm like the Energizer Bunny. I don't give up, okay? I get knocked down, I get back up. So maybe that's the glow girl in me.
It's just you as a person. This is why I love you.
Oh, thank you. You get knocked down. After a while, some people stop getting up, but I keep getting up. I just persevered. I kept getting up, and I try again and try again. And
but you stood up for yourself. What was it that made you decide to say, no, I'm going to tell these people the truth and I'm going to confront them?
I think it was just a growing process. And it wasn't like one day I hit my head and boop, I woke up. It was kind of like, I would say the last 5 years maybe now, I have been on a journey of truth. I try to take all the information in, run it through this brain, and then make a decision. I've been on this truth journey for, I don't know, 5-6 years, and I just have been researching the heck out of all this. I've come to the conclusion that the narcissists, those are the people you want to avoid.
The thing is, a narcissist will move forward at the expense of everyone else and not care about what they do to anyone else. They'll smile. They'll come up with a smile, though. Otherwise, they wouldn't get anywhere.
Right. Yeah, they're charismatic.
Very charismatic.
They're super charming.
And your best friend for a moment until they think they have what they want from you, or you're going to continue to service them. Stroke their ego romantically, financially, however that is. And know just what to say to keep you under their thumb. That's a malignant narcissist. And yes, I've known my fair share. What I want to get into right now is, okay, you had the courage, you confronted your abusers.
Well, I finally confronted one of my lifelong abusers. All I wanted was just an apology because she always was one-upping me. Anytime I was around her, I always felt like I was ugliest, stupidest, no talent, no class. She just had a way of putting me down.
And that's not how you treat people. When we tear someone else down, it doesn't build us up. We tear our soul apart.
But she did it so good, so subtly. I didn't even notice it.
I understand that if people were more of a whole person, and that's what we're trying to get to in this series, how we can become a whole person, create a better environment so that we can create a better world. Part of it is reviewing your life, understanding where our issues are, and then you may confront it literally, which you did. All you wanted was an apology, which you deserved.
All I wanted was an apology. All this pain of 40 some odd years of her, not only are they one-uppers, but they're drama queens and kings. So like, if you go to the hospital, well, they went to the hospital more. If you had an injury, theirs was worse. If you have an idea, theirs is better. So anyway, she was being overly dramatic. Well, and I don't even remember what it was. And then I finally let it out and said, you know what? Everything's always worse with her. She can't ever, she's always got a one-up. I'm just trying to, be helpful. I finally said something. And of course, she denied it. And then I said, and what about the time you guys had, all these Band-Aids started ripping off, and I was like, and then you abandoned us at that horrible commune and all this other stuff. And it was like, oh, well, that's your mother's fault. Everything was always somebody else's fault. I couldn't get just I love you and I'm sorry. No, I just couldn't get it. And that's all I wanted. It got so bad that I got written out of the will.
And the worst part that you shared with me, you were told that you imagined.
Oh yeah, that's called gaslighting. So what they do, narcissists, they'll not only deny it, but they will come at you from every angle. They'll say you belong in a cult, or you're listening to so-and-so, or you're making it up. It's in your head. They will not just say, oh, I'm sorry. You know what? By the way, Eileen, I want to tell you this. I confronted my real mother about some of my painful past. And you know what my mom did? She got really quiet and thought about it and said, I am so sorry.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's all I wanted. And I was like, okay, cool. You know, I love you, Mom, and I know it's not your fault. And so I was able to just let it go.
Part of it is moving through the pain and healing. When someone tells you, oh no, you made that up. Oh, what are you talking about? You're crazy. That didn't happen. You know, they're denying it.
Gaslighting.
Yes. And you know what you went through.
To me, that is just as painful as the original hurt.
Not only that, did they say, no, you made this up. Then they went to other members of your family.
Yeah, they tried to turn the entire family against me, nephews, my own kids, anybody that would listen to them. They were like, she's crazy. And it's like, no, I'm not. My older brother knows the truth. But he's got my back. One of my stepbrothers attacked. He just wrote me an email and said, you're sick. I'm sick for saying how hurt I am about a lot of the trauma they put me through. Come on.
This is the truth about what happened.
I could have groveled and gotten back in the will. Well, I just want to say my stepmom put her 2 kids in the will. So my grandfather's money is going to my stepbrothers.
What the message here is, if you tell the truth about what happens, you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it with your inheritance. You're going to pay for it because we're going to tell everyone else that you're lying. Other than us admit the truth and say we're sorry. How hard would that be? I mean, to admit, I am so sorry I offended you. I am so sorry that I hurt you. Can we get through this together and heal and become whole again? That's all you're trying to do, is to become whole again.
That's all I wanted, was just an I'm sorry. I didn't want a big production or promotion. I didn't want the whole entire world to know, the family to know, because they went out and told everybody. It was like they went on their little cross-country journey. They were in Nevada at the time. They went out to Canada and told everybody that I've just gone crazy and that I'm nuts and da-da-da-da, and I belong to some cult. I was in a cult as a child.
Yeah.
Against my will.
Yeah.
And they abandoned me there. That's the only cult I've ever been near. And that was not by my choice. That was because my parents basically abandoned me at a cult.
And then something else happened too, which God, you're one of the most courageous people I've ever known for doing this. You started standing up to yourself against the social media bullies. They were saying things like, oh, you used to be so sweet. Now you're not so sweet anymore.
Because people were so used to me being pliant and close-lipped, and that's what they wanted. That's who they knew me as. And so they wanted me to just stay that way. No, sorry. I am like a flower. I have blossomed. I've grown. I am not that shy little abused girl anymore. I'm a warrior. I'm a glow girl.
And you gained self-esteem. And you weren't going to let anyone take that self-esteem from you.
I'm so tired of people putting me under their thumb my whole life. And like I said, I'm a flower. I have blossomed now. Now I know the truth. So whenever people slowly will start to push that line. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's like a line of respect.
That's a healthy boundary.
Yes. And when they start to push, a little red flag goes up and I go, I'm going to keep an eye on them. And then once they hit that parameter, I block them from social media. I block them from my phone. That's it. I'm done. I'll take so much and then that's it.
It is good to know the signs. But the whole point is that self-esteem leads to changes in our behavior and leads to changes in our life. It leads us to have the courage to stand up for ourselves and to put up healthy boundaries and to develop new habits. The habit of years is the hardest thing to break because it's how we were raised. It's what we've done over and over again, and not always successfully, but it's all we know. and we have to actively get in there and change these habits. All of our experiences shape us, and I think that you doing your work and sharing your story will help someone understand that things can be better, and you can make this a better place for yourself, and by your example and by your better life, help make this a better place for others. Thank you so much for sharing those deeply personal things, and I'm so proud of you for finding your truth, standing up for yourself, hopefully help make this a better place for someone else.
That's my goal, is to try to help people, share my experiences. And Eileen, I just love you.
Oh, I love you too, honey. And this is why it's called wrestling with your best friend, because it's not, the simple life with my best friend. No, it's wrestling because it takes work, and I wrestle with this every single day. I love you, darling. Thank you so much.
Me too. Bye.
Wow, that was powerful. Again, we are not here to assign blame. I understand that an abuser doesn't wake up in the morning and say, gee, I wonder how many people I can hurt today. In most cases, they're just trying to get through life the best way they can with the information that they have. And if they could have done better, they would have. I want to demonstrate that owning your truth can transform your life. With courage, we can open those packages and honestly look at what holds us back. We can confront destructive behaviors, establish healthy boundaries, stand up for ourselves, and move forward in our truth. It's not easy, and you have to put in the work. If you need help, help is available at thehotline.org. Their phone number is 800-799-7233, and they also have a 24/7 chat. Self-esteem is a gift we give ourselves. Treasure it. I truly believe that with self-esteem, we can become our own best friend and live a kinder, more loving life for ourselves and those we care about. Together, we can create a world where we all get the kindness and respect we deserve. Wouldn't that be wonderful? What kind of a wrap-up would this be if I didn't rap? Elvis is ready? Here we go. I'm MTV, so sing with me. No matter how hard it may seem, reach in and grab your self-esteem. Let it be your personal power, and you could blossom like a flower. Woo! That's our show for today. Thank you for the gift of your time. If you like what you heard, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. I want to remind everyone that the opinions expressed on today's show belong entirely to those expressing them. You can email your opinions to melodytroublevixen@outlook.com or leave comments here on the YouTube channel, Melody Trouble Vixen. Until next time, keep
Wrestling with your best friend!